Hey English 112, Miss Brewer here for your week 1 lecture video. Hopefully you've already completed your introductory enrollment assignment, and you've watched the introductory video. This week we're going to talk about poetry. You're going to read some poems and you're going to participate in your first discussion forum. So I'm going to open up the poetry analysis PowerPoint. So if you want to open that up with me, and we can go ahead and go through it quickly. I'm just going to review quickly. You, of course, can use this in your analysis of poetry. So, a couple of things about poetry. First of all, the purpose of poetry, and you will find this question on your final exam. The purpose of poetry is to evoke emotion. So the poetry that we're going to read and listen to in this course, the idea here is that we're trying to evoke emotion out of our reader. Whatever that emotion is that is evoked from you, you then want to go back and analyze why or how did the author do that, okay? It is an art form, so it is subjective. There are going to be poems that I like that you don't. There are going to be poems that you like that your parents don't or that your friends don't. It is a subjective art form, and it can be written or spoken or sung because music is poetry. So how do you read a poem? Oftentimes poetry is really scary for students, but it shouldn't be. It's just a process of reading it and reading for understanding, knowing how to read it for understanding. The reason that I have a bug flying in front of my face, sorry. The reason that poetry is scary is because it's a lot of information and a lot of material condensed into a small amount of writing. And in order to get across what the author is trying to say, and in order to evoke that emotion, the author will use figurative language, and that kind of helps to get across these big ideas. But sometimes it's hard to understand. But there are ways to read and dissect the poem that will help you with understanding. Just read it through for enjoyment. Just read it and enjoy it. Then there are some steps you can take to better understand it. First of all, if you have a printer, print the poems that we have written out. So I highly encourage you to do that because you can mark it up, okay? Write all over it, right next to the lines, what you think it means, highlight words that are important, circle things that are repetitive or that stand out. Really read it and kind of mark out what you think it's trying to say. When you're examining the poem, you need to ask yourself these questions. What is the poem about? Be specific. Like identify what's the subject of the poem, what is it about, okay? Be very, very specific. What does the title suggest? And then answer the who, what, where, why, okay? We're used to the who, what, where, and whens. The why is like the theme, okay? So we are going to be analyzing themes and common themes that we see in this poetry as we read it. And that's what our literary analysis is going to be on, analyzing a common theme throughout the poetry. So who is the speaker? Who are they talking to? Why? What is going on? Why is that going on? Okay, where is the poem set? When is it set? Why? So that why is going to get to the theme, okay? So the theme of the poem is really what the author is trying to say about a society, okay, or the world around them or whatever, okay? And that is that why. That why is going to get you there. Then go line by line through the poem, trying to get like the gist of it. What is it trying to say? And then try to identify any figurative language and what is the effect of that figurative language. Look at the context of the poem. So think about when it was written, who is the author. Look for allusions to time periods, events, things that may have happened. Look at word choice, look at repetitive language. Why are there things repeating? If they change the font or they move things to the side, that's interesting. Why do they do that? And when you see that figurative language, we're talking about similes, metaphors, personification, right? Alliteration, those things that you learned all through high school, all through middle school. Now we want to see why are they using those things. So you should already know what they are. Now it's why are they using them? And then the most important question is, so what? Why did this author write these things, right? So what is the poem trying to do? What emotion is it attempting to evoke? How does it do that? What is the poem saying about the world, society in general, right? And what is the purpose of the poem? Why would the author have written it? That's how you're going to get at that theme. So some things to remember. It's okay if you don't get the poem the first time. It's okay if you never get the poem, all right? But you can, I think, by taking these steps, it's going to help you to more deeply understand what you're reading. It's okay to feel confused and it's okay to dislike a poem. Just because you dislike it doesn't matter. You need to be able to tell me why you dislike it. What do you dislike about it? Okay. And I didn't get it isn't enough, because we have all of these steps to try to figure out what's going on with this poetry. So be sure that you're ready to discuss what you liked, what you didn't, why. That's the most important thing. And then this last slide that I have here on theme, the most important thing that you can get out of the poetry is, what is the theme? Why? Because that's going to be what you're going to write a paper about in about 3 weeks. Okay, so after you've done all of this analysis, what is the author saying with this poem? What message are they getting across? Okay, and again, as we read, the purpose of reading this poetry is to look for common themes. So think about that as you're reading it. And that's kind of just the PowerPoint for the week. Your week 1 poems, I have links here. So you have 5 poems to read. We're gonna go kind of in order, like through a timeline, if you will. So you're gonna read Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson's poem, Caste, Color, Denomination, actually has a breakdown of it to help you kind of go through and analyze the poem and give some explanation. And then you have Whittier with The Barefoot Boy, County Cullen with Tableau, and then Langston Hughes's Battle of the Landlord, and Langston Hughes's I Look at the World. So that's going to be our first week of poems. Our poetry this semester will discuss social issues. It will discuss multiple social issues that we still face today. That's the kind of literature that I enjoy reading and talking about, so I'm the teacher and I get to pick it. So just so everyone's aware that that's where we're going, and that's kind of the theme of this. We'll read about the social issues in the poetry, we'll research some social issues when we get to APA format, and we will present on those social issues in a business style writing. So we are going to have a common theme throughout this entire semester. Watch the video Why Poetry Doesn't Suck. It's not that long and it's enjoyable. Your week 1 attendance assignment is in the prompt from the introductory video. So make sure you've watched the introductory video. Your week 1 attendance assignment prompt is in that video. And then you guys are going to participate in a discussion forum. So I want you to create a thread, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then interact with 2 peers. We're going to get used to the discussion forum setup this week before we actually use it for content and grading next week. So you can see I'll write my introductory forum, and then you guys are going to write an introductory forum. Try to get that done by Thursday, and then you want to reply to 2 peers by Sunday. And then you're going to, after you've read the poems for this week, you will complete Journal 2. So you're going to write, again, a paragraph. You're going to use these questions to help you to construct your paragraph. If you guys have these, one thing I want to say, I provide you guys with PDF articles on most of the authors that we're reading for the week. You are not required to read all of those articles. The reason that I'm providing the articles to you is because you're going to be writing a literary analysis paper in which you will be required to utilize articles like this. So if you really liked Emily Dickinson's poem, might be a good idea for you to go ahead and read that article on her this week, mark it up so that you can use it later if you're going to write a paper with her poem in it. So they're for you, they're not a requirement. You will be required though to use 3 scholarly articles in the paper. So just kind of think about that as you're seeing the articles that I've provided. If you want to read through those, or read through maybe you really liked Langston Hughes's poetry, read one of the Hughes articles. Okay. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email and I will be happy to address them. I hope you guys enjoy the poetry and the first week.